Last couple of years, I've offered a plethora of playthings for conspiracy theorists. COVID is a hoax, Trump won the election, and the vaccine makes you magnetic. The latest being pointed out by text message from Jim, who asked, "Have you heard about Senator Risch's conspiracy theory about someone in the White House controlling Biden?" at the Senate Foreign Relations hearing with Blinken. Why, yes, Jim, we have heard of this. And for those of you who may not have heard, this is what Jim is referring to. Senator Risch, a ranking member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, was one of the first to ask questions of Secretary of State Antony Blinken about the, at best, I guess you'd call it that, at best bungled withdrawal of Americans from Afghanistan. And about a minute and a half into his time, Senator Risch asked this.
Look, we've all seen this. We saw it as recently as yesterday. Somebody in the White House has authority to press the button and stop the president, cut off the president's speaking ability and sound. Who is that person?
I think anyone who knows the president, including members of this committee, knows that he speaks very clearly and very deliberately for himself. No one else does.
Well, are you saying that there is no one in the White House that can cut him off? Because yesterday that happened, and it's happened a number of times before that. It's been widely reported that somebody has the ability to push the button and cut off his sound and stop him from speaking. Who is that person?
There is no such person. Again, the president speaks for himself.
So are you unaware that this is actually happening? Because it happened yesterday at the Interagency Fire Center. It was widely reported. The media's reported on it, and it's not the first time it's happened. It's happened several times. Are you telling this committee that this does not happen, that there's no one in the White House who pushes the button and cuts him off in mid-sentence?
That's correct.
So this didn't happen yesterday, nor on the other occasions where the media showed the American people that his sentence was cut off in mid-sentence. Yeah. Are you saying that didn't happen?
Senator, I really don't know what you're referring to.
He does speak for himself, but what happens when somebody doesn't want him speaking? You're telling us you don't know anything about this, that somebody cuts him off in mid-sentence. Is that what you're trying to tell this committee? Because everybody here has seen it.
Senator, I'm telling you, based on my own experience with the president over the last 20 years, anyone who tried to stop him from saying what he wanted to say, speaking his mind, would probably not be long for their job.
Speaking of long, that was a lot of time that Senator Risch spent on that topic. 5 times he went to that well and came up dry. 2.5 minutes of his allotted time was spent asking if somebody back at the White House pushes a button to make President Biden stop speaking. And he sextupled down on this claim later in the day while appearing on Fox News.
For whatever reason, from time to time, his sound is cut off, whether he's in the White House or in other places. Sometimes he's hustled off of the stage where where the media can't get answers. Somebody needs to be in charge.
Well, per Secretary Blinken, Biden is in charge, not just of the press pool, though. He is not in charge of that, because this is what Senator Risch, dipping his toe into the conspiracy theory pool, is based on. He mentions what happened Monday here in Boise while President Biden was visiting with fire officials at NIFC. About 25 minutes into his sit down with those officials, after comments were made by most of them that were seated at the table, President Biden said this.
Can I ask you a question?
Oops.
It was at this point when the president wanted to ask questions, well, the pool spray was over, as they call it, and those in the media pool were asked to leave, and quickly. You see the camera whip around there? It turns, and you can see it heading toward the door, following the rest of the media pool out the door. That's what happened. For those not familiar with covering the president, it happens all the time where live feeds end before the event does. Those questions were not intended to be part of the live feed from the beginning per the president's public schedule. It was well covered by the Washington Post, but since Joe Paris was in that pool of reporters Monday, we thought we'd ask him about it. So explain kind of what happened there.
Well, it's exactly what you watched. So you see the camera feed, the guy turns, he starts looking out the other way. I was standing right next to him. The way this works is that there's one television network, I believe it was Fox in this case on Monday. They get a special backpack that sends the video out from the conference center or wherever they were. We're at NIFC on Monday. Brian, on Monday, they cleared out the press more than once, and it was understood that this was going to happen. So when the feed got cut, the man next to me physically took his camera and turned, and they cut the feed, and that's it. There's nothing, in this specific instance, at Boise, at NIFC, I can say there's no button pushing. No one was told to do anything. The media was in control there. If for some reason the guy didn't want to listen, he could have kept filming.
Well, and I noticed at the end of that video, you could actually still hear audio of you guys kind of meandering and moving through. So it wasn't like the mic was cut. They just walked out of the room.
No, the mics were hot and journalists were in the room. We would have heard exactly, and we did hear exactly what the president was talking about with NIFC agents. They were continuing the conversation. At the end of the day, this is a business trip for President Biden to learn about wildfires, climate change, and damage in the West. He was asking NIFC leaders about that. I know we have this constant moving digital age, but contrary to what we want, not all the president's remarks are fully live streamed. So again, it was normal practice for the press to have an opportunity to spray the event, meaning we get to get some video and some images from it to report on it later. But what happened on Monday was not out of the ordinary.
And that exactly kind of happens all the time, just like that. All right, thank you, Joe. There's your button. You're done. But for Senator Risch to say that this kind of thing happened several times and the media has just reported on it with anonymous sources, by the way, or that it's been widely reported that there's some sort of puppet master controlling when President Biden speaks and using what happened Monday as an example of this, well, you could say it's peddling in conspiracy theories. We asked to speak with Senator Risch about it today, but we were told he is traveling and unavailable the rest of this week, which is kind of ironic since he is accusing President Biden of avoiding media questions. Well, Senator Risch hasn't really agreed to any of our interview requests since we started the 208.